Hi, my name is Heather. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Knits and Things podcast. Today is Monday, January 20th, 2014, and it's Martin Luther King Day. So I hope that, number one, you had the day off of work, and number two, if you did have the day off, I hope that you were able to do something for someone else at some point during the day. I think no matter what your politics, I think we all can agree that the push to have people recognize the need to do something in their communities is something that we have to say is a good thing to come from President Obama. You know, no matter if you agree with the other things he does in office or not, I really admire the fact that he's having everybody, you know, be more aware and more conscious of getting out and helping other people. So I had something in mind, a very knitterly volunteer opportunity in mind today. That I came across, I guess maybe a week or so ago, that I live just outside D.C., and in D.C. at a really cool bookstore, they were having, Warm Up America was having a little get-together to have people knit for homeless, which is a charity that I have knit for before. I do a knit group at my school with the 6th grade class. Not everybody, just a couple students. And last year, the 6th grade class knitted squares for a blanket for Warm Up America. This year, we decided to go with Halos of Hope. So I'm teaching everybody to knit by knitting around and around and around on circular needles for a hat. But Warm Up America was at a bookstore downtown, and I really wanted to try and go. It was very early in the morning, though, especially to get to the other side of D.C. Because like I said, I live outside D.C., and to get to them, I would have to go from the southeastern point of D.C., from 20 minutes outside of there, to go all the way through D.C. and to get to the northwestern point of D.C. Wasn't going to happen for 8:30 in the morning. So I did find out that there were things going on later, but then I also remembered that I promised 3 11-year-old boys that I would take them to a Washington Wizards game. So my day was actually spent, I did do some knitting in the morning before we left, but my day was spent entertaining some boys who'd been off on a 4-day weekend, because in my county, the kids had off on Friday because the teachers were given that day as a professional day to finalize grades for the second grading period and get some other things done and to relax a little bit themselves. So the kids have been off this was their 4th day off, and it looks like tomorrow morning we actually might at least go in a little bit late, if not have off. We'll see what happens. I don't know. We've had a lot of weather these days, and in my district what happens is they call off for things in the beginning of the year, thinking that, oh, we only have a couple things anyway, so as soon as something happens weather-wise, we close or we're off, and then as the winter we get more into the dregs of the winter, and the weather keeps piling up, then they kind of ignore things like, oh, you can make it to school, you can make it to work, it's fine. So, I don't know, we're supposed to get, from what I heard earlier today, was 2 to 5 inches, and we don't deal with snow well at all, so I'm waiting to see. I would like to go in a little bit later tomorrow. My school is very early. I have to be at work at 7:15, so I like delays. I really like delays. So that's what we're looking at, and that's how my Martin Luther King Day was spent, was taking some boys to a Wizards game. So I think they had a good time. They drove me crazy, but I think they had a good time, so we shall see. So let's get right. So thing 1 is knitting, and for thing 1 I want to show you, let's start off with what I'm working on for the knit along with the group. I started a knit along for through January and February, to be completed by March 1st, to complete a sweater. So it's a sweater knit along, and I chose to knit Miranda, which, do I have the pattern picture? Oh, here's one of the pictures. It's actually a sweater that has options. This part, you can see, I'm doing it, I actually was going to do this sweater exactly, short sleeves with a hood. Since I finalized my yarn choice, I decided I did not want to do a hood because I'm using very scratchy yarn. So I don't think I'm going to want a hood. I don't know. I definitely will have enough yarn to do it, but I don't think I want a hood. But this is Miranda, very plain raglan, top-down raglan, with this cute center stitch detailing. This is where the thinking is on this sweater. the center panel is where you do your increasing and decreasing for the sweater. And as you can see, it stays the same until just after you separate for the sleeves, and then you start increasing gradually until, and you can see down here, there's a wider panel. Now there were directions, I guess if you get frustrated and just want to give up, there were directions for a narrow center panel. So I guess if you don't want to do that, maybe she has instructions for how to do it without increasing in that center panel, because that center panel, there's a lot of, there's a lot going on there. For me anyway, I guess I like everything to be spelled out to me bit by bit. I want to know exactly what I should be doing. And one of my friends at Knit Group, hi Trisha, was saying that we both kind of agreed that this pattern is not intuitive at all with what, and I've knit sweaters before. I'm not new to sweater knitting. I do normally knit plain sweaters, or maybe sweaters that have an interesting construction but still a simple stitch pattern. But I've done, like I did what did I do last year? I did the Dark and Stormy last year, and it has cables all over the place. And I think that one was even a little bit easier than this one with this center panel. So it's not intuitive. The way she has her increases going for the raglan was much different than I've encountered before. It's not the same on either side of the stitch marker, I'll just say that. And this center panel, you increase, you do different things at different times when you're increasing. So this is how far I've gotten. I separated the sleeves a while ago, and I've knitted, I knit a couple rows on it each day, because like I said, once you get to where you have to increase for this center panel, it's a bit, so I've increased, and I apologize, the lighting I think is going to be horrible. I've increased and done a little bit of shaping, or a little bit of the twist one time here. So as you can see, the new knit stitch kind of comes out of the garter stitch out of nowhere. And I'm kind of going slow to make sure I get it right, because I hate ripping out. So I'm going very slowly. I hope that I've done this right and I don't need to go back. I increased, and I also did a little bit of a twist to it. I don't know if I was supposed to increase and wait until there's 2 knit stitches until I do any twisting, but this is what I've done so far. And it's coming along. I think I'm on track for finishing it in before March, like I said. But I am going very slowly to make sure I don't mess up. And I think I got lost in my sentence there a minute ago. I apologize for the lighting. As you can tell, I'm in a different place. The house is quiet and empty right now. So I decided to take advantage and kind of sit in the comfy chair and not hole myself up in my bedroom. But it's nighttime. It's dark outside. So I've got all the lights blazing on this whole first level of the house, and even the light for the basement. You can go down to my basement right there, and it's open, but I turned the light on so that at least the light was coming this way. I don't know. And I have the light behind everything on and facing this way. So hopefully everything is light, but I noticed there's a little bit of a shadow here. So hopefully you get to see everything clearly. So that's Miranda, and that is for the knit along in the group. So like I said, any adult sweater you can knit, and post completed pictures by March. I should probably open up a thread, and I think I said that last time and I never did. So I will try and open up a thread by the time I post the show notes for this podcast. I will open up a thread for people who are finished. And that will be the way you enter, is just posting a finished object in the finished object thread. And I mentioned the prizes that we had. Let me go through them again. I'm going to give away 2 patterns of your choice from Ravelry or online, $8 or less. I have 2 bags from Kicks and Giggles to choose from. One has a storybook scene, and one has music theme to it. And they are the bags that have the different level hitch to it, so that when you place the longer hitch through the shorter hitch, it kind of closes your bag up for you, and it's a little more secure as you're walking around. So you get, this will be actually one prize. You get your choice of which bag you want, and then I'm going to keep the other one because I couldn't decide which ones to keep, which one to buy for myself, so I got them both, and I figured I would give one away. So the bags are one prize, And I also have a lot of Malabrigo worsted, which is a big single. I don't even know the colorway for this. I wound it up to use it in a project, and then I quickly realized I didn't want to use it for that project, and it's just sitting, but I had already wound everything, and I thought I was using it, so I tossed the tags. So I don't really even know what color it is. The only thing I know is there's none of the yarn is missing. When I discovered that I wasn't going to knit it, I wound it back around the skein and put everything in a bag together. The rest are untouched cakes. You can see they've just been wound. And again, this is a really big fluffy single, which is why I didn't want to use it in the project I was going for, because I didn't want a single that might felt. So if you're someone who felts, or if you want to do maybe a hat that won't get rubbed on too much or something like that, this might be a great lot for you. So there's 4 untouched skeins of Malabrigo worsted. So that's a prize. And we also have a prize from Stephanie, who is, I want to say, what is it, hot pink socks from the group. She sent a prize as well. So we also have, thanks to Stephanie, we also have a set of collage square knitting needles. So it's a circular needle, but it's a square tip. If you can see that, can you see how it's square? I've always wanted to try those. Too bad I can't win, right? And this is a size 4 needle, and she also sent along a skein of collage riveting yarn, and this is called Lava Denim. This is the Lava Denim colorway, and it's made from recycled blue jeans, the tag says. So that feels neat. It feels like cotton to me. Maybe like cotton with a little bit of nylon in it or something. It feels really nice, and it's a very kind of loosely twisted ply. It might be great for a little neck something. I don't know. Maybe a hat. I don't know. There are, let's see how many yards. And it says 95% cotton and 5% other for the fiber content, and it's 350 yards. So those two are together as a prize as well. So thank you, Stephanie. And so that is the knit along. We now have an extra prize. So make sure that you're getting in there for the finishing. Make sure you're getting in there because there's lots to win. Lots and lots to win. All right, let me set this down. Sorry. And move on. So that was my Miranda for the knit along. And next I wanted to show you, these are kind of the things that I've been working on as I've been going. The mood blanket squares. So I saw Nicole, I remember her name now, Nicole from Positively Knitting. I think on Ravelry she's Hot Ass Knitter. She was doing a crocheted mood blanket, and I thought what a neat idea that sounded like, but I don't crochet, so I'm turning it into a knitted version. So I'm knitting the circular square construction. I think some people are doing it as the barn raising square. So there's a bunch of different versions of the same idea. I actually had seen this idea first in an Elizabeth Zimmerman book, and I think she just calls it a circular square. So there's a circular cast on, and then you increase at 4 different evenly spaced points until you have the square the size you want, and then you bind off and you're done. So this was the first square I did as a test. I actually joined this term. I joined the Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup. Did I get all that? I think so. And I'm doing this as my OWL project, a project that is long-term or takes a lot of extra skill or something like that. So I want to do this probably about half of the blanket in this term. So I have committed to doing 24 squares between now and the end of March. So I have a little bit longer after my sweater to get these done. So this was the square that I did, and yet this one is all blocked and everything because I was doing it as my swatch for the OWL project. So there's the first one I did. This was from Malabrigo Sock, the Solis colorway. And then I did a red one. I think I showed this one last time. This was some old sock yarn. I need to recount these stitches because this one looks, I know this is not blocked, but this one looks a lot smaller than this one. Even if I were to stretch it out, it doesn't seem to be, well, I guess maybe it would be about the same if I stretched it out and blocked it. But I still would like to count and see if I did that or if I need to pick back up and do a couple more rows. Because what I'm doing is when I get 40 stitches in between the increases, I'm done. And then I do a super stretchy bind off on the edges and set it in the box. So that one was from an indie dyer that I got sock yarn for years and years ago. This was, I think I was working on this one the last time I recorded. This was Lorna's Laces. Yes, Lorna's Laces, the Tuscany colorway. This one is like a Regia sock yarn. It's the one with bamboo in it. And that one feels really neat. I don't know if I would like it as a sock, but I really like it as a blanket or maybe even like a garment. If you were to do like a fingering weight tank or something, since it has bamboo, that would be great for a nice summer garment. So there's that one. This one is, this one, I love the way this yarn worked up. The yarn does not feel as nice and smooth and soft as I like, but it knitted up so pretty. This one is Into the World. That I was gifted this from Steph from the Knitting Samurai during her sweater knit along last year. And the colors are not something that I would do for myself, so I figured I'd use it in this blanket, and I just love the way it knitted up. The stitches are nice and crisp. The fabric is nice and firm, but soft. I really like that. So I'm gonna make sure that that entire skein goes in here because that is really nice. And then this last one I did was from a little teeny skein of Superfine Merino that I was given that I never could figure out what to do with, and I love that one too. I love the blue and brown and teal combination. So this is the last one I did. I have not cast one back on. I just haven't been in the place to cast one on yet, and I was working on my sweater a lot last night and helping my son with a science fair project yesterday, so I never got a chance to cast another one back on. I cast the blue and brown one off yesterday when we were working together, and I just never cast another one back on. So that one that's as far as I've gotten with my mood blanket, but I did finish, now I need to find it, a hat I made. This is actually for a coworker. I'm doing a lot of knitting for coworkers here. This is actually supposed to be for one of my coworkers' daughters, who my coworker is complaining that her daughter has no hair, so she always likes to keep a hat on her head. So I said that I would knit. I didn't actually tell her I'm gonna knit you a hat, but I said no. If Auntie was to knit you a hat, I wonder how big it would need to be. So I kind of tried to judge and kind of played with her hair for a little while. To kind of see how big her head was. And I think this is the Walking in Memphis pattern. I think this will be okay. I think the head opening will be okay, but the rest of the hat looks really big. So I don't know. I can like squeeze this onto my head if I try. The cast on is definitely much too small for me, but then the rest of the hat looks okay on me and my big adult size head. So I'm wondering if it's going to be too big for her. So I'm going to give it to her tomorrow anyway and ask her to try it on her daughter, and if it does not fit, to give it back so I can make one that does. So this is Walking in Memphis. I did the 3-stitch repeat, and I used my own hand spun. This hand spun was done last summer, last fall maybe, during Diane of Knittables had a spin along challenge where she called it the Color Me Different challenge, where she wanted you to take 2 different colors of fiber that you would not normally ply together, spin them separately, and ply them together just to see what happens, just so you could kind of step out of your color comfort zone. And so that's what I did here. The pink is Neighborhood Fiber Company, some roving that she used to do. I think she might do that color still, but I don't remember what color it is. And the blue is Fat Cat Knits, or actually it's blue in places, it's green in places, it's gray in places, and I think they worked up together pretty nicely. So there you can see that's very green. This one's kind of teal and kind of gray, and the pink, the Neighborhood Fiber, goes from very pale pink to a deep pink to a bubblegummy pink. So it's all, this is kind of a rosy pink. It's, so I think it worked out nicely together, and we'll see. It is very dense. It's about 4 ounces of fiber in here because there's two, you had to do 2 ounces of one color and 2 ounces of the other color at least, and that's what I did. And so this skein weighed 4 ounces, and I used most of it here. So this is probably a 3-ounce hat. And I think that's a lot to have in one hat. It's very dense. It's just the 2 plies. So it's even kind of heavy. So I don't know what my coworker is going to think of this hat. I think it's kind of, homey cute, but I don't know if I were the mother of a 14-month-old little girl, I don't know if I'd want her wearing it either. So we'll see. I'll see what she says. Everybody's taste is not the same. So we shall see. But this hat, and the hat was very nice. I liked the pattern. There were some unique twists to it, like the I-cord cast on, but nothing difficult. Just a lot of interesting twists, a lot of interesting ways to accomplish the same thing that you've been doing for years. So I really like that. And this was Walking in Memphis. It's a Laura Linneman pattern, and Laura is Lala from the Knit Girls. So that was actually a completed object, and that's all I have besides the squares. That's all I have completed. I do have, I'll talk about those in, the things you can think. I'll talk about the other things that are in that bag. And that's it so far. I did get some work done today on my sock head hat. I think I just about doubled what I had for the ribbing. This is the ribbing for the sock head hat. This is creatively dyed yarn. I think I was only about halfway through the ribbing when I started today. I got to knit through a metro ride from the station closest to my house all the way into DC, and then I got to knit all the way through the basketball game because the guys were entertained by themselves. So I just sat and watched the game and knitted the entire time. So I think I doubled what I had. I think I probably had about that much ribbing done to begin with, and now I have this much. So, but I think the sad part is I think I need double of what I have now to be done with the ribbing on the sock head hat, because there's a lot. But this is, the ribbing in this fingering weight yarn is just so nice and squishy. I think it's because of the circumference. It's so nice and squishy. I mean, most of us do a 2x2 rib for our socks, but it doesn't seem that squishy to me. So I think it's because there's so much of it that it feels so nice. So there's socket hat. I did work on that today, but I haven't touched it since we got off the cruise ship over the holidays. So, and I think that is it for what I've been working on for knitting. So for Fox and Socks, I've been plugging away, trying to plug away once again on my Socks on a Plane socks. So here's my first finished sock for Socks on a Plane. And I was knitting these. I started these actually this summer when I went to my family reunion, and I knitted a lot of this there, and then I knitted up to, I knitted up to the gusset when I was traveling this summer, and then I finished from the gusset to the top of the sock on the cruise ship, and then I started the second sock, and I did the second sock just like the first sock, paying no mind to the fact that there's a cable on the outer edge of your foot. So if you do a cable on the outer edge of your foot on this sock, then it needs to be mirrored on this sock, not exactly the same. So I had almost the whole foot done at one time for the second sock and had to rip it out. But now I'm back up to here. I've done a couple cable crosses. I have my cute little cable ring from Leslie Wind. And I'm just kind of plugging along. I kind of, sit and do that when I get a chance. I like to have, what I found is, I like to have projects of different needle sizes going. So when I'm tired of working on my Miranda, because the big needles are tiring my hand out, I like to work on a sock type project. And I do have these are on size 1, so this is very small. The squares that I'm doing for my mood blanket are done on size 2s, and it's the bigger size 2, so they're a little bit bumped up from that. So this is the needle I've been using for my mood blanket squares, and this is the yarn that I'm going to use for the next square. This yarn, it looks very burgundy right there, but it's very bright. It's like blood red. This, I believe, was Neighborhood Fiber as well. And I used it was Neighborhood Fiber. I used it for a shawl. Actually, I used this yarn along with the yarn that I'm using for my sock head hat together in the graphic infection shawl last winter. So, and this is what I have left, so this is going to be a square or two. I imagine that eventually I'm going to get to the point with my scraps that some of my squares are going to have to be two colors. So at least one square will come out of that little scrap. Maybe two, maybe only 1.5, and then I'll have to add something to it. We'll see. So that's what I've been working on with socks. Once I finish with those, I really want to try and get those. I joined a couple of years ago. Matter of fact, it was 2012. I joined, there's a group on Ravelry that is set up to knit with a goal of knitting 12 socks a year. And I've never made that goal, but this year, that's one of my goals that I want to do. So they still have it going. It's 12 socks in 2014 now. But one of the things that they allowed you to do, and actually they're doing it for both January and February, is that you can take a work in progress pair of socks and finish them up and have that count as one of your socks that you finish, which I like, and it makes sense to me because I didn't have that pair of socks. And now if I finish knitting something that's in progress, all of a sudden now I have a new pair of socks in this new year. So the socks on a plain socks are going to be finished up for that challenge, so I want to have that one sock done by the end of the month, and I think I can do that. And once I'm done with that, I want to knit just some plain vanilla socks, and I've been dying to try the afterthought heel. I've never done an afterthought heel, and I would really like to try it. I've got a couple skeins of self-striping around that I would like to use, and so I'm going to try an afterthought heel. I might do one of the Patton's Croy skeins that I just got, just so I can try it the first time without kind of worrying about messing up a $30 skein of yarn. I'd much rather mess up a $10 pair of socks than a $30 pair of socks. So that's what I'd like to do next. Oh, and I never put my other sock back. So that is it for the knitting, right? Yes. Yes, so on to thing 2, which is spinning. All right, so for thing 2 for spinning, I have been finishing up my gradient skein from, is this Fat Cat Knits? Yes, this is Fat Cat Knits as well. I got a gradient skein of her colorway of the month for January. I think it was either December and January or January and February. This colorway is called Cool Madras, and I thought it was nice and cool but bright colors for winter to be nice and cheery. And it goes from, you can kind of see here, this has a little bit of a purple tinge to it, but before this it's almost plain stark white. So it goes from white, and then it gets a little bit of the purpley blue in it, and then it goes to a lime green, and then it goes to a purpley navy bluish color. And I asked for a 6-ounce bump, and so, or a 6-ounce quantity. So when she does 6 ounces, she sends you one 2-ounce braid, and then she sends you a 4-ounce braid, and the 4-ounce braid has blue on the ends, and then green next, and then in the very middle was the white. So I split it down at the white, and I split the 4-ounce braid at the white so that I had 3 separate runs of fiber that all had the same colors. So I've done 2 bobbins. I have the 3rd one on the wheel now. I'm just getting into the lime green, so I hope by the end of this week to have these done. Then they'll probably have to sit and rest for a little while, and then hopefully I'll have the skein. I'm going to do a 3-ply. Hopefully I'll have the 3-ply done by the end of the month, because I want to turn this in for a project for Harry Potter as well. I just remembered that there's a hat over there. I think I showed you the hat last week. I think I showed you the hat that I did already. So the Weather the Weather hat that I finished last week was for a Harry Potter class as well. But this will go for, if anybody else is in the Harry Potter knit and crochet house cup, this is going to go for the Care of Magical Creatures class. And I don't remember the creatures that we're supposed to be taking care of, but this is going to have the blue and green for their colors. So I thought that this would be fun to spin this up for that. So that is some spinning that I'm doing right now. But as I was spinning, I realized that I needed a bobbin. So I finally removed this skein that I was knitting, that I knit up during Spinzilla. This was a loop bat, a loop bullseye bat. And I think the colorway was called Springtime, which makes sense. It's got a nice springy green, it's got a sky blue, and it's got two different shades of purple, kind of a periwinkle purple and a lavender purple. And I left this as a single. It stayed on the bobbin for so long because I was debating whether or not I wanted to leave it as a single. Right now, from all my calculations, this is 424 yards of a single ply. And I like that it's got the long color runs, but I don't think I spun it well enough for it to be as useful as I want it to be. So I kept it as singles, and I tried filling it and felting it a little bit in the sink with hot to cold water and some agitation. But I don't know. Even with that, and even with hanging it with a weight, I still have some kinky curly spots, if you can see. Yep, I can see them. So you can see some places where it's overly spun. I can even see, I was just looking at it, I can even see some of the little spirals. There's one there. I even have places that have the little spirals. So it's not, I think it actually would have been better if I had plied it. Done a Navajo ply or a center pull ball where I could have plied the inside and outside together. I don't know. So I'm going to try and use it for something. I've been looking back through the Two Knit Lit Chicks, did a gradient knit along last summer. Not this past summer, but the summer before. And so I've been looking back through the patterns that people used. I'm thinking of maybe like Multnomah or something like that. There was another one called, I can't remember. But I would like to do something where the gradient gets shown off. The color progression. And Multnomah would be very nice. So would, I mean, any shawl that starts at the top and goes to the point would be a great way to show this off. And 424 yards would allow me to do probably most of them that I would want to. So we'll see. I hope I'm not disappointed in all the kinky curlies. Boy, you can really see them there. So I hope I'm not disappointed in all of those kinky curly spots. And I think I kind of learned my lesson. So the next time I do, I have two more bullseye bumps to do, and my goal is to spin them even thinner. I was doing this very quickly during Spinzilla to try and get it done. These colors are not necessarily my colors. I normally go towards more warm tones, oranges and browns and greens, and not springy greens like that. So, which is why I grabbed it, because I know it's not really my colors. And the other two that I have are. So I think the lesson learned here, the lesson to be taken from this is to try and spin the next bumps even thinner so that I have more yardage, so that when I do a Navajo ply with it, which is what I probably would like to do, when I do a Navajo ply with it, I won't have to worry about the kinky curlies. They should even themselves out once I ply the yarn. So, lesson learned there. And that was thing 2. Alright, so on to Everyone Needs a Thneed. And this is going to be quick. The things that I have are really kind of stash acquisition, but not necessarily things that I've been buying. I did sign up for a new club, and that did come in, but the other things are clubs that just happened to arrive. No, I'm lying. I did buy one Harry Potter skein. So, let's start with Club Dragonfly. Yay! So, Dragonfly Fibers does a club, and this year they decided that they would allow people to do a pay-as-you-go option, which I really like because I probably will buy yarn here and there throughout the year. Although I am trying to reduce the amount of stash I have altogether. My plan is to knit more, though. So paying by the month for the club, or paying every other month, which is the way the shipments go, I think is a better option for me than paying a couple $100 at once. It's just, I mean, I know in the end it's the same thing, and actually she gives you a discount on the shipping if you do it all at once. but doing just a little bit every once in a while, I think appeals to me a little bit more. So the first shipment was sent, and there's a little bit of extra goodness here. So the first thing she sent were, let's go with the good stuff. Let's go with the yarn. So there are 2 skeins of sock yarn. These are the 2 skeins, and this is her Genie sock, which I love. That's what the my Socks on a Plane socks. Socks on a Plane. This is Genie sock from Dragonfly Fibers. I guess I should have mentioned that, huh? Come on, I don't think I've been mentioning any yarns. Oh, so this is Genie sock. This is the Atomic colorway, and this is the Summer Lilac. And these 2 are meant to go together in a colorwork project that I actually think I might try. I don't normally do colorwork, but I really do like this. This is not, the pattern is not named. This is just a sneak peek of the project. So here's the colorwork cowl that they're sending the pattern for. And I think if I go back in my email, I've got the link to the pattern. And I believe, it looks like, I'm assuming this is a dragonfly in the middle. It's kind of hard to see. It actually looks better, me looking in the camera at it. I actually can see the dragonfly a lot better than when I was looking at it going, is that supposed to be a dragonfly? So, but I normally don't do color work. I have done it before, but it's not my favorite. But that looks intriguing, and it looks very regular. So I think that I would get into a rhythm and into a pattern with it, that I would like it. So these are 200 yard skeins to do the colorwork cowl, and I think I will do it. I think I will try that. And it looks very nice and bright and happy and cheery for wintertime. So I like that. I really like it. And then there was an extra bonus. This is, if you know Yarn Pop bags, isn't that it? Yes. YarnPop.com, we have a Yarn Pop bag with dragonflies. So I think this fabric was custom done for them. And I like that it has the grommets, so that you could have 2 different skeins of yarn coming out of there. So here's another bag that would be great for doing some stitch surfers. And it's a nice bright pink inside, and there's their label reminding me who they are so that I don't forget when somebody asks me about my bag. So this was the club for January, and I really, really like it. I was very impressed with the club, although I'm always very impressed. So there's more Dragonfly Fibers. I love Dragonfly Fibers. Dragonfly Fibers is actually local to me. So I kind of claim them as one of my yarn people. Kind of like I claim Neighborhood Fiber as one of my yarn people as well, even though I tease her. I tell her I'm her stalker. I tell Karita from Neighborhood Fiber that I'm her stalker because sometimes I feel like I am. So the other thing is, also in this bag, I also ordered a skein of fiber, of roving from Shadwin Fiber Arts, and I was linked to this from all of the Harry Potter boards that I was on. Shadwin Fiber Arts had a series of colorways for Harry Potter this year, and this one is actually, this is 4 ounces of superfine merino in the Ginny colorway, and Ginny is one of my favorite Harry Potter characters, Ginny Weasley. And I really love these colors. These colors I think are excellent to portray Ginny Weasley. And these are my colors. So I really like these warm colors. These are my colors much more than this. So, just so you get an idea. But I really like them. The only thing is, I don't like spinning merino. And I want to say that I didn't read carefully enough to know that this was merino, or it was kind of an open, up in the air, sign up for the club and you might get one of these fibers, is the only thing I can think, because I really don't like spinning merino. So we'll see. This does feel kind of puffy enough, though, that I think I might be able to try it as a long draw technique and be okay. But I don't know if you've ever heard me complain or mention my trigger thumb. So a couple years ago, I developed a trigger thumb from spinning merino. merino is a very short fiber, and I wasn't spinning it. I didn't have my wheel set correctly to spin it the way it needed to be. Either that and combination. I didn't have my wheel set correctly, and I was a very new spinner. My sister and I had gone in together on a fleece from Sheep and Wool, and we had 5 pounds, or was it 3 pounds? I think it was 5 pounds of merino wool. It was a very, very short fleece, and I was trying to overcompensate for the shortness by gripping it really hard, and I gave myself a trigger finger. So my thumb would stick. Sometimes it would stick out, and I wouldn't be able to move it again without using force, and when I did use force, it hurt. So I had surgery on the thumb, and the surgery didn't go well. I can't feel my thumb. I can't feel that I'm touching my thumb right here. I can't feel my thumb right here. I still have a little bit of weakness, and my hand falls asleep sometimes when I'm knitting. So because of that, I kind of have an aversion to merino, and usually I will not spin merino unless it is superwash merino, because that tends to not be quite as fine. But I don't know. Like I said, this does feel nice and fluffy, and I would love to try it because I do love the colors. But we'll see. I might have to be at a time where I'm not doing too much, where I don't have too much more knitting planned or spinning planned, things that I want to accomplish quickly, so that while I'm spinning, I can really let my hand rest, because my hand will completely go numb. It'll ache. I'll always feel like I need to be stretching it and things like that if I overdo. And depending on how I spin, I love to spin long draw because it doesn't involve this hand much at all. And sometimes when I'm spinning, I do find that I'm pinching too much, and it starts to go numb from down here all the way up my thumb. So very beautiful, but I'm nervous. I actually may just go ahead and gift that to a spinning friend, or maybe I'll use it as a giveaway in the group at some time. So that is my stash acquisitions. I haven't gotten anything new other than that. So let's move on to so the Ravelinic games are coming, and this is for the things you can think, what I'm planning on knitting. The Ravelinic games are coming. I love the Olympics, first of all, and I know I'll be sitting and watching the Olympics. So having a project to work on and to challenge myself with is a no-brainer. I definitely want to do it. The problem is I don't know what to do. So I signed up, and I'm getting the updates, and I'm stalking the threads like a hawk, because I did sign up for the Follow Your Arrow mystery knit along with Isolde Teague, and that is very intriguing. And I had said, when I saw the dates that it was coming out, I had said, oh, I'll sign up for this. I'll kind of watch in the background as everything gets posted and kind of make my decisions as it goes along. And then when it's time for the Olympics, I'll know. I think there'll be one remaining clue once the Olympics start. There'll be one clue left to be released, and so I can start then and kind of knit through, and I'll know what I want to do. But now that I'm watching everybody, it's killing me not to start. So I have signed up for that. I have yarn picked out. I have beads picked out. I would be ready to go if I wanted to cast on now, but I know I have other things I need to finish. So this is the yarn I have picked out. I actually got this yarn a couple of years ago with the thought of doing a pair of knee highs. So I got 2 full skeins. This yarn is Fiberfile. Yes, Fiberfile yarns, and it's about 375 yards for each skein. It's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's a heavy fingering weight. And I think that this will work beautifully. One of the skeins, once you look at them, one of the skeins, I think it's this one, looks much more brown than this one. But I don't know if it's just a happy accident from the way it's balled up, and maybe there's actually more brown in here, but this one looks much less brown than this one. So I don't know if I might need to do some alternating and switching around as I'm knitting. But this is what I would like to do, a one color shawl for this. And as I'm looking, I'm still kind of agreeing, yes, I would still like to do a one color shawl. I still don't know which option I'm going to do, if I'm going to follow clue 1 or clue 2. So if you haven't seen this, which if you haven't seen it, it's probably because you haven't been on Ravelry lately. Because there's like thousands of people participating in this. I think everybody was really ready to jump on the bandwagon for this because it's such a trusted designer, and it's the first time she's ever done a mystery knit along. So everybody is in on. Well, not everybody. Lots of people are in on this. And see, you can definitely see the top skein looks more brown, right? But I also have some beads to put in there. I know some of the beads are very bright, so I would not actually use all of them. But I would use like the clear beads and this brownish bead, and I would use, there's more clear, but you can see, do you see right there? See, there's the clear bead, and then right underneath that bead that's kind of the matte green, I would use that. But some of them, like those bright green ones, I wouldn't use those. I would use these cylindrical ones, though. I would definitely use those. Maybe. But, so there's definitely, I wouldn't use them all. And there's been no mention, I haven't seen anybody using any beads, but I've been kind of keeping an eye out and kind of looking for, oh, I bet I could put a couple beads here, oh, I bet I could put a couple beads there, just to see where I can put a bead or 2 or 3 here and there as we go along. So that is for the Follow Your Arrow Mystery Knit Along with Isolde Teague. So that's one option for the Ravel Knit Games. There's also a sock mystery. I love a mystery knit along. Love, love, love a mystery knit along. And the, let me remember, I've got the notes over here. The Knitters Brewing Company is having a sock knit along that starts on January 31st. So I would only have to wait a week. I would only have to kind of lurk for a week's worth of clues with that. They're having a mystery sock knit along. They do them all the time. This is Mystery Sock 6, and it's got a cocktail theme to it. And so I'm very tempted to do that because one of my original thoughts was to knit a sock. I'm sorry, I've got a message coming through here. Oh! Oh, never mind. They've got a mystery sock coming along, and one of my original thoughts was to do a sock for the Ravel Knit Games. So, I don't know. I'm torn. Depending on how much knitting I finish between now and then, I maybe could do both, but I'm thinking with the Owl Project for the Harry Potter group and my sweater knit along, I don't think it's going to be possible. I'll have to choose one or the other, especially because I also have baby knits to work on. So I have baby knits to work on. I had planned on knitting 2 monkey blankets, 2 little character woobie type blankets, not really a blanket to cover up it with, but a blanket to snuggle, that has a little monkey face in the center. So if you can imagine the monkey face in the center and then the blanket all around, so the child can really kind of snuggle with it. It's more of a toy, more of a comfort item than a functional item. So I was going to do 2 of those, and I have brown yarn and tan yarn to do the monkey. That's fine. I knew I had to do 2 of those for right around the same time. My son's, it's actually my coworker and also my son's instrumental teacher is expecting, and she's due in April. And then I have another friend who is due in April as well, both boys. So I was going to do 2 monkey blankets, no problem. Well, then I was reminded that I have another coworker, kind of a former coworker, and I see her every once in a while now, that is due, and they want to have a little, she's due in February. And they want to have just a little informal get-together, kind of mini shower with just some of the staff that was around when she was there as well. So we're going to meet at a restaurant soon and do something for her. So I don't want to knit a whole blanket again, and I don't know that I have the yarn to knit a whole blanket again. So I went digging through. I was trying to think of what I could do, and I really like the idea of giving a new mom, especially, and she's a brand new mom, washcloths, hand knit washcloths for spot cleaning, throwing in the diaper bag, using in the bathtub, wherever, because they just seem so much more of a personal touch. So I dug out some of the cotton skeins that I had left in my stash, and I think I'll use these 3. So whatever I can do with these 3 before the time we meet with her. I think we're going to meet with her on the 31st, Friday the 31st. So I've got just the sugar and cream from the craft store or Walmart or wherever. I've got just a yellow skein, and I've got hot green, and I have, what's this one called? Hot blue. But I thought those were cute, and we know that she's having a boy as well, so they're all boys. So those three I'm going to do up into some dishcloths. And just, I'll do that and maybe put in the Johnson's lavender. The Johnson's lavender baby wash is what I loved when my son was little, because it got him kind of sleepy, kind of helped him to settle down. I loved it. So maybe that, but I also like to do some organic type things, so maybe I'll find some organic items, baby washes to put in there. And one thing that my sister and I discovered is the, I don't know if you do Barmaids products, but I love the Lolo bars from the Barmaids. If you look them up, I think it's barmaids.com. They do a Lolo bar, which is a lotion bar that you put on, and you can put it on, you can use it dry on your hands, but I like to use it wet from the shower. When you're still wet, you rub it all over your body instead of putting on lotion. You don't have to put on lotion because the bar is good enough, and it stays on forever. They're wonderful scents, but they also make it in a baby formula. They make it in a little stick, and my nephew sucks his thumb so much that he has chapped cheeks. My sister has been using that. No more chapped cheeks. So I might do, something together with some washcloths for her for that. But in my box of tricks from when I used to knit dishcloths, I found the pattern for a knitted ducky dishcloth that I think sounds great, and I hope. This is backwards to me. I wonder if it's backwards to you, too. It says knitted ducky dishcloth, I swear. And the textured slip stitch dishcloth. I think I'll do those two. And I might be able to do 2 of each out of the skeins. I don't know if it says how much you will use, but hopefully I can get 2 of each of them out of this. So we'll see. If not, I'll do 1 plain one textured, and one ducky. So that is what I'm planning on knitting, which sounds like a ton, right? Phew. So, and I think that's all. I'm going to do a little teeny Gerald McBoing Boing section if you would like to stick around. If you don't want to stick around, if you could care less what I've been doing with my kid, then I will see you next time. But, I like talking about my kid. So Gerald McBoing Boing is up next. Gerald McBoing Boing and I have been working and working and working. I think you probably heard me mention his STEM fair project. So it's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics is the new science fair term of the decade. It's the new way to say science fair, is STEM fair. So he and I have been working. It seems like every time he had something due, it was me. It was always my weekend. So I feel like he and I have done this whole project. I told him when he has to do an acknowledgments page on his paper. He has to. He has to. It's one of the requirements. If it's not there, he gets marked off. Whatever. So I told him when he writes his acknowledgments page, I better be mentioned first. So anyway, so we've been working. He actually did the same project that he did last year. We did more trials, and we made sure that everything was in metrics, not in the U.S. system. So everything is in grams instead of ounces, which is what we're all more comfortable, which is what we transferred everything to last year. We made sure everything was in grams this year. So hopefully everything worked out right. And he learned a lot. He actually had to do a lot of research. What he did, he was fascinated with how much weight it takes to crush something. So he did a bunch of folded paper boxes, and he was testing out which shape crushes quickest. So he did a cuboid, which is a wide flat object, and he did a rectangular prism, which is a long and skinny object. Both cube shaped, but one is wider and flatter, one is long and skinny. And we got just metal washers to see how many of those we could stack on top before it crushed, with the theory that the wider, flatter object would hold the most weight. And it did. And then, so what he had to do after that was he went and researched the physics behind it. And so he learned a lot about gravity and about compression stress? Yes, compression stress. And that's what he then put into his research paper. All right, so that took up a lot of our time. That whole project is due tomorrow, and he's finished with it, done we finished it yesterday so we could have our time today, because today, like I said, we went to the Wizards game. So I live just outside D.C. The Washington Wizards are a local team. It's been years since we've been to a game, though. I don't like professional athletes at all these days. There's always something shady going on. So, and they sensationalize them and they idolize them, and there's so much hype about them, especially when you actually go to an event. So we don't do a lot of professional sporting events at all. We never go to a football game because I definitely don't like football players. Basketball seems just about as bad. Baseball, especially because we have some of the non-major league. We have some minor league stadiums around, and I think most places do these days. That is where we spend most of our sports entertainment times. But I took a couple of his friends out today because, like I said, it was Martin Luther King Day. We had our day off, and it was the 4th day that they'd had off. So we did go down today and watch the basketball game, and it was fun. It's fun to go to the games. We get the cheap seats and we sit way up so we can see everything going on. And they had a good time. He and 2 of his friends. I always say, every time I get all 3 of them together, I always regret it. And I'm back to that again. I'm like, next time we get to do something, one of the friends can come. They can't both come because it's too much all at one time. But whew, I feel sorry for the people sitting near us. That's all I have to say. They're just... I think the basketball game could not have been going on and they'd have been fine. Just playing and laughing and hitting each other. I don't know what it is. Boys, 6th grade boys, they have to hit each other. And 6th grade boys giggle more than 6th grade girls, I think. They're the giggliest bunch. As long as they're touching each other, they're giggling, and it drives me nuts. So, that is all. And here comes the family coming back in now, so recording is over. I hope your evening makes you happy. There's a poodle barking.